And here we are again, Quasar with Fries. My name is Rich. This is this guy over here,
Wayne Grayson. What's going on, guys?
Wayne Grayson. This is Quasar with Fries, episode 5. Thanks for joining us today. Lots to talk about.
Yeah, man.
As far as being more personal and being normal human beings like everybody else. Sounds like Wayne, you went and took a little trip out to catch some football with the fam.
Yeah, dude. We drove up to Atlanta, so that's about a 3-hour drive for us. We drove up to Atlanta, watched the Steelers beat the Falcons, so that was a lot of fun. For the football fans out there, it was an all field goal win. So that's the first time I've ever seen that. So like the defense just did its thing. We kicked 6 field goals and we won the game. No touchdowns. And I love defense. That's what I played in school and stuff like that. And so like I was very, very happy.
Yeah.
My daughter got to see her first NFL game, first live sporting event. She had a blast. And they won. So, I mean, it's kind of like, and the folks in Atlanta were just, Rich, you and I were talking about this kind of like the atmosphere at baseball games and stuff like that. I think the Falcons have a better game day atmosphere than the Braves because I've been to several Braves games. The Falcons had Soulja Boy performed,
Okay.
Slash performed, tons of they have like a breakdance crew that pops in every once in a while and does like performances and stuff like that. It was awesome.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Like to see people like lose their mind for Soulja Boy. And then obviously they have a bunch of like guest appearances and stuff like that from like Samuel L. Jackson has recorded like a video and then a couple of other people. So like gets people into the game. But like everybody was so freaking friendly.
Yeah.
It was just a really fantastic atmosphere. So like if you're in Atlanta and it's football season and the Falcons are playing, the tickets are probably pretty cheap.
I've been to
Atlanta.
I've been to Atlanta during football season before, and stopped into like a giant mammoth-sized sports bar and stuff like that. And everybody is super friendly. It was super fun.
Yeah.
Like even if you don't like football, you're just like, wow, everybody's really just happy now and having a great time.
And they moved the Braves out of downtown, and that was the mistake because the new field that they built, it's really really nice. But like it is soulless. It's like 20 minutes north of the city. There's no public like transit access. Like Atlanta has a subway. A lot of people don't know that subway. Well, it's an elevated train. It goes underground too.
They kind of put him out to pasture.
Well, they put him out. They put him out to into a safer area. Like, and they didn't do public access or anything like. Well, what you've done is you've basically eliminated all the culture and like everything that makes Atlanta cool and hospitable and warm and the amazing music that comes out of that city. It's all none of it's up where the Braves play. But dude, Mercedes-Benz Stadium is downtown in Atlanta and the culture is on full display. It's a beautiful thing. And so we had a great time.
Rad.
Yeah,
I live in Santa Cruz, California, and wife and I just drove down to Monterey. It's like an hour south of us. Tons of tide pools, tons of restaurants. Just a gorgeous place to go if you just want to go get near the ocean and cool off for a little bit. The weather has been insanely hot for like it's cooling down now, but as far as like California terms, it's been pretty hot here. So if you ever want to just go cool off for a little bit, you really only have to drive like 10 miles to get near the ocean, and it drops like 20 degrees like immediately. Yeah. So lots of seafood, lots of relaxation, so that was good. That's yesterday awesome. Moving on to the show here, yesterday Apple had its kind of annual iPhone event, and let's see, the theme was Glowfest 4000 XL. I don't know. Glow in the dark, fun USA.
Yeah, and like what's funny about the Glowtime thing is people are like really it's like if for people that keep up with Apple stuff, it's like it's like the Siri animation in on the new OS, but it's like, yeah, dude, like 99% of people have no idea what Glowtime is referencing, and so people are like, is something gonna glow? Is it like a glow in the dark iPhone or whatever?
Yeah, I was waiting for like a campy dance routine or something like that. I don't know. Glowtime, guys, come on, Like, were we gonna watch an episode of Glee first, and then and then go into the event? Like, what was going on?
No, this was 2 hours of new products and specs. There was no, sometimes Apple will do like a funny sketch or something like that. There was no time for that. It was a very long event. It was probably too long.
Yeah, so. Yeah. Well, the first thing that we're kind of let me actually share my screen. So you, Wayne, actually did a nice little write-up covering the event, which we are very grateful for.
I watched it so no one else at the company had to. But
exactly.
I would have watched it anyway because I'm a dork. But if you're looking for like a rundown, what I tried to do here is here's literally everything you might care about. So like all the new products, really the stuff that matters the most. And so please check it out on Rocket Yard at eshop.macsales.com/blog. That's where you can find it. But it's everything you need to know, so you don't have to spend 2 hours watching various extremely well shot scenes around San Francisco. Someone mentioned the other day that it looks like they finally ran out of places to film in Apple Park. So now they're just visiting San Francisco landmarks.
What's next? Maybe they'll do something down at Fisherman's Wharf or something. Who knows?
Hell yeah. Let's go.
They should shoot the next Apple event at Alcatraz. I mean, let's be honest.
Here we are on the Rock. Good morning.
Yeah. Good morning, everybody. Right now, I'm speaking to you from cell block 219 on the 3rd level. It's amazing. There's no view, and the food is non-existent because the prison is closed. Yeah.
I can hear the ghosts jangling their jail cells.
That's right. I feel like they really, these ghosts here, they really want a new iPhone. I can feel it. I mean, they're developing their own AI here in Alcatraz,
That's right. That's right.
So, as far as the Apple event goes, one of the first things you covered in here was the Apple Watch Series 10. Slimmer design, largest display. What were some of your takeaways from that?
Yeah, so we'll do a quick rundown because I think the bulk of our conversation is going to focus on the iPhone stuff, obviously. Yeah. But there was a lot of wearables news during the event yesterday. The biggest of which was Apple Watch Series 10. So the big kind of thing with Series 10, it's actually kind of subtle, but they've made it a little bit thinner. And so they're saying that it's substantially thinner. If you're coming from a Series 4, 5, or 6. It's going to be pretty noticeably thinner. If you're coming from a Series 7 or above, a little bit less noticeable. But then the other big thing on it is the fact that they've increased the display size. So the sizes of Apple Watch are now 42 and 46 millimeters. And so the way that Apple measures that is diagonally across the case. Or the actual metal frame around the screen.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's a 46 millimeter case. That's the biggest one. And then the 42. If you will remember back in 2015 when they launched the Apple Watch, 42 millimeter, which is now the smallest size, 42 was the largest size. So the smallest Apple Watch you can get now is the same size as
used to be the
largest. So I thought that was really interesting. The display is 30% larger than Series 4 or 5. And it's 9 or 10% bigger than Series 7, 8, or 9. So it's a bigger display, and it's also it's even a little bit larger. So now the normal Apple Watch, the 46 millimeter, the screen size it looked to me like maybe 1 pixel line of height larger than the Apple Watch Ultra. So if you like a big screen watch but you didn't want an Ultra, which kind of has a little bit of this is not the thinnest kind of thing that Apple has ever made. It definitely kind of sits up off the wrist. It's a big chunky boy. And so if you're not into that, you want a sleeker look, but you also want the sport features. It looks like the new the new Series 10 is going to be the way to go. The only thing about it is that there's no meaningful there's no battery life improvement in the Series 10. It still gets 18 hours. But what they did do is they improved the charging time. So you can now get 80% charge in 30 minutes, which is awesome. I think the big thing here is that they're giving you that fast charging capability because they're saying that the whole reason they made it thinner is so that you will wear it more of the time. So that because the Vitals, there's like a new Vitals app on like the Ultra. That's becoming obviously the health, and we're going to talk more about health with the AirPods, but like health is just becoming like a bigger and bigger kind of differentiator for Apple and their products.
Yeah.
They want you to wear it more of the time to track sleep. So
yeah. Well, honestly, I'm still using like a Series 4 or 5, I think, and I'm only using my watch. I don't really use my watch for all the apps and stuff like that, but it's basically health related stuff. So heart rate, steps that I'm taking, tracking some workouts. I do use it. Actually, I've started using the remote camera option because I shoot a lot of content where I'm the only person doing the shooting and having to manage the entire situation. So that's super helpful. But outside of that, I don't know if I'll ever be interested enough in my Apple Watch to be an Apple Watch power user. You know what I mean? Like, and I know there are some of those people where they're constantly dorking out on their watch as much as most of us do on our phones, but I don't know. I do like the fact that as far as the form factor goes, because I have really big hands and stuff, so it's not hard to put a watch on my wrist and have it look like some teeny tiny little thing. So I think getting the new size, the larger size, as well as getting one of those like bulkier, kind of more masculine looking bands to go with it. It's like super thick that almost looks like the Apple Watch version of a G-Shock look. You know, like I've always loved the G-Shock watches because of their design and their look, and I'm hoping that there's going to be more options for that kind of thing aesthetically.
Nomad is honestly, I think they're probably like, so this is a Nomad band here. It's just their sport band for the Ultra, but like they've put out a new band that is a little bit thicker than this, and it has that kind of, to me, it has like a G-Shock look to it too. So that's a good option. But like I recently went, to your point about kind of like geeking out over the watch, I recently went to, because I don't do like, I have most of my notifications turned off, other than the ones like during the day that like I want to get my attention, like a Teams message from work or something like that. But like for the most part, I'm all kind of like first party, like it's usually just the Apple included stuff that I'm using on here.
Me too,
and see, like I went for about 3 months. I kind of wanted to see what the Garmin ecosystem was like, and I will say this: like Garmin, oddly enough, like Apple is usually known for like the Apple, premium or the Apple tax or whatever. Garmin stuff is way more expensive than Apple's. Like Garmin's latest kind of like Apple Watch Ultra kind of like competitor is like $1,200, and the Ultra is only $800. So I bought it. I went ahead and I got it. There's actually like footage on the past episode of this show of me wearing one of those, and I used it for about 3 months. And like, I think the biggest question for anybody that's used Garmin and then come back to Apple Watch, or used Apple Watch and gone to Garmin, is like, what is Garmin doing that Apple can't do with battery life? Because that Garmin watch with always on display was lasting me anywhere between 8 and 14 days between charges. So it's cool that Apple has now put 30-minute fast charging on the Series 10. The Ultra charge is like not very fast at all. You can probably get 50% in 30 minutes, but like that is one thing I really miss with the Garmin's. And then Garmin, there's very little third-party app support on the Garmin. But
I don't think you'd be buying the Garmin one though because of that.
Exactly, because Garmin's first-party stuff is so good. Like their training stuff, they have like training programs built into the watch and into the Garmin Connect app. You don't have to go anywhere else. But I will say that the benefit of third-party support is that it's easier for Apple to get some of those features. Because there's developers that want to build them in. And actually, like with some of the stuff, like Gentler Streak is another big app that is a third-party app on Apple Watch that has taken advantage of kind of like some of Apple's, honestly, shortcomings, their deficiencies compared to Garmin. And so Apple has now, with their new vitals and training load, kind of help you get on top of, hey, should you work out today? Did you recover well enough? What should you do? Like, if you want to stay active, like how hard should you push? That type of stuff that like the Whoop band and Garmin have been killing for years. For serious athletes and those who are training, Apple is finally getting some of those features that are first party in watchOS 11. But yeah, like to your point, like I think that a lot of people are going to be really happy with Series 10, especially if you're coming from, like you were saying, like a Series 5 or a Series 6. Oh my gosh, it's going to be night and day. But yeah, we've reached a point with the watches where I think that everyone is kind of realizing I hate all of the smart features that are not health related. I just want this thing to kind of help me sleep better and train better, go for more walks, all of that good stuff. And so we've kind of reached a little bit of a rhythm there. But
I don't think, I mean, when I initially got into the Apple Watch thing, which was around the time when the 3 came out, all I cared about was the health stuff right out of the gate. And because initially people were like, oh, you know, I can now have Microsoft Teams on my Apple Watch.
Yes, one more screen with Teams.
I'm like, please give me another reason to not pull my eyes away from some freaking screen, especially if it's so unmanageable. I mean, there's actually some really funny memes where somebody, you know, it's like an April Fool's joke. I think Black Magic did it one year where they launched Da Vinci for Apple Watch. And it showed this guy like trying to edit like these timelines and zooming in all crazy, and everybody's all frustrated trying to edit, and every edit took like an average extra 32 hours to get through or something like
average
that.
Of 32. The digital crown is just a natural, you know, tool for moving the timeline back and forth. Like, why didn't we think of this sooner?
The most prominent feature of Apple Watch's DaVinci Resolve is the undo feature. Yeah, because you constantly have to be undoing everything you just tried to do with your fat fingers. Yeah.
Right. But
ridiculous.
Like the interesting thing too here on the new Apple Watches is the fact that they did not they updated they've been going hand in hand with the updates, new Apple Watch series, new Apple Watch Ultra as well. They unveiled the Series 10. They did not update Ultra. The only thing they did with the Ultra lineup is they added a new black option, which I'm sure that there's people who are kind of like maybe have a first gen Ultra or maybe an older series, and they're going to be stoked because that new black finish is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And a couple of bands that cost $200 that are titanium Milanese loop that look pretty cool. But that's about it on the Apple. Other than sleep apnea detection, they have added that. So they say that 80% of people with sleep apnea go undiagnosed. So, and you know, sleep apnea is pretty serious thing that can, you know, it's obviously disruptions in your breathing during the night. Usually it's people that snore really bad. So you can turn this on and it'll be like, hey, you've had this many breathing disruptions over the course of the last week. You probably have sleep apnea. You should probably go see your doctor about it. So that's
that stuff's cool.
Continuing. Yeah, they're continuing to add these little things that are really handy. To finish up, the only other point that I thought was interesting, no mention of blood oxygen. So everybody will remember last year, Apple got sued for copyright infringement of their blood oxygen sensor. It did not go well for them. And so they have yet to kind of settle or anything with this company. And so they had to disable via software, basically, the blood oxygen sensor. So they didn't mention it. It's unclear if it's coming back.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's right now, no blood oxygen.
That's something I would be paying attention to personally.
Yeah.
So I hope that they can figure that out. I mean, dude, why not just pay that company, license it, let's go. We'll use it.
Yeah, it's weird.
Know?
It's weird. I was listening to the talk show with John Gruber's podcast, and they had a really great segment on it, just kind of going through all the like what's going on with this. And so like that was going to be one of the interesting points to see during the keynote if they mentioned blood oxygen, and there was no mention of it. So but yeah, to your point, I think Apple's stance on it is like, well, if we had to lose one metric, that was one to lose, because like it's important to, I think it's important as a recovery thing, and it's important to kind of like wrist temperature and blood oxygen is something to kind of keep an eye on to see if you're getting sick, if you're overtired, all of that good stuff. And I think Apple's standpoint is like, well, if we had to lose one, we still have wrist temperature, and so we can still go with that. And then heart rate variability, it also still measures, which is important. But no, like I keep an eye on blood oxygen. I think a lot of people do ever since COVID, because that's a leading metric to tell if you're getting sick. And so you can still manually. What I do is I have a little finger clip, and then I manually enter it into Apple Health to kind of keep on top of stuff. But
okay, that's
not a great experience, but.
Yeah, not as good as having a sensor built into the watch that just tells
you don't have to think about it.
Yeah, exactly.
For sure.
Well, moving on to the next one here, we got the AirPod update.
Yeah.
AirPods 4 and new AirPods Pro 2 features. Looks like a little bit of a sound quality improvement, kind of a new acoustic architecture that they built in. And the addition of the H2 chip found inside the AirPods Pro 2. Anything else that you kind of pulled from that?
Yeah, like I think I'm kind of excited for these. Okay, so I'm a big fan. I still have kind of like a pair on my desk here of the first gen AirPods. There's not a, and I'm wearing the AirPods Max now, and I love the AirPods Max, and we'll get into that in a second. But like these are still my favorite, the original AirPods, not the Pro ones, but the original no silicone ear tips. This is still my favorite fit. Like it fit my ear. I know it's not universal. A lot of people hated them.
Yeah.
So they kind of kept tweaking them. And then I bought the AirPods 3 because they combined the design of the Pro without the tips. And they had done like a new fit and everything. Like they fell out of my ears constantly. So I actually got rid of them and went back to using the first gen because they fit my ears so well. Well, they've tweaked the fit again on AirPods 4. And so they're saying it's a better fit. We'll see. And then the other big thing is that they've added noise canceling. There's a model now. They start at $129 without noise canceling, $179 with noise canceling. So now you can get the noise canceling and the transparency mode and all that good stuff without having to have the silicone, ear tips in your ear. And I'm probably weird in the sense that I really don't like the silicone ear tips in my ear. I don't like the in-ear.
Yeah, I actually have. I mean, everybody's ears are different, obviously.
Yeah.
The thing I'm kind of the flip side of you, in that the OG ones that are just straight up plastic composite in your ear, just like one of them, like in my right ear, one would always fall out when I'm on the elliptical or whatever, and the other one was fine. And then after a while, it would kind of irritate my ear, the inside of it, like the skin would get kind of like raw just from me shoving it back in and
just
stuff like that.
Constantly pushing it, right?
So after that, once the Pros came out, and then you could actually get the silicone stuff so that it was more form-fitting no matter what your ear was shaped like, and it would actually seal. And being a musician and an audio guy, I always like to hear as much of the like focused experience as possible, including as many frequencies as possible, and that seemed to basically do the job. But the biggest problem I had with the Pros was just the freaking price tag, man.
Yeah, they're not cheap. They're not cheap. They come down pretty regularly now, but they're $250 is a lot.
It's like for something that you can lose just by breathing the wrong way or something. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like I've seen people have full-on meltdowns on an airplane before because they dropped one of their AirPod Pros and it fell through the seat, and then it rolled up the aisle, and they're like freaking out, and everybody's like, dude, I don't see your AirPod anywhere. And they're like, it's so expensive. Anyway, so, and that's kind of the impetus for me not buying expensive small things. It's like you could just lose it and then like your ass out after that. It just kind of sucks,
Yeah,
so.
that literally happened to me over the weekend in Atlanta. So I brought my little Sony RX100 and left it in a yeah, dude.
That sucks.
Because not a cheap camera, and it's super tiny. That's my little buddy. Whenever I take
Yeah.
it around, and you know at what it costs at 1,200. I'm not getting another one. And to me, I'm kind of like, oh, learning experience. I can't keep up with a camera that small.
Yes. Yeah.
So,
You need to have that thing. It needs to have like 16 different ways to tether it to your face, so you don't lose it wherever you go. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's so great because you can just shove it in a pocket. But like for whatever reason, dude, I put it in like the cup holder of the seat. So I filed a lost and claim found, and I'm crossing my fingers. But yeah, I mean,
that's a bummer.
So like I'm excited to maybe these. I haven't really decided if I'm going to pull the trigger on these because if I might buy them and then take them back if they don't work out. But I am intrigued to see if how well the noise canceling works without the seal.
Yeah.
Which would be interesting. They wouldn't be the first. Samsung Galaxy Buds also don't have silicone, or one of the versions didn't have tips and they had noise canceling. It didn't work. So maybe Apple's is a little bit better, but that's definitely interesting.
Yeah.
To your point about the price, I think a lot of people balk at the price. I saw something where it's like people are either buying the Pro because they want the nicest ones, or they're buying the AirPods 2, which are like 3 generations old at this point, or 2 generations old at this point, because they're the cheapest.
Right.
And so I think that they were kind of like, okay, well, what if we combined noise canceling with like a cheaper price point? So now you've got a more even distribution, but there's lots of AirPods models.
Dude, yeah.
And then now the Max, this is just weird. The Max is 4 years old. It was almost 4 years old. It was announced in December, released in December of 2020. And it wasn't even like a big fanfare. It was like they put out a press release to say, "Hey, we've got these now. Buy them, don't buy them. We don't care. They're $549." So they put these out. They're amazing. They've got lots of fans. They've got lots of people who say that's way too expensive. I'm not paying that for headphones, which I totally get and understand. For me though, I've tried everything. I've tried the Sonys. I've the Sony XM series. I've tried the Bose Quiet Comfort. There are lighter headphones. There are better sounding headphones. There are headphones with better ANC. But to me, there's nothing that instantly pairs, that instantly moves between my devices as well. And there's nothing that has, to me, I think these are the best sounding consumer headphones that you can buy without being an audiophile and needing a bunch of extra stuff with
I mean that's the beauty of the Apple hardware and within their ecosystem is once I started doing music production and all of a sudden I have like wireless devices and multiple Macs and other stuff and it would just seamlessly kind of go back and forth with little to no hiccups whatsoever, and then you jump back into like the Windows environment and you're like, this is awful.
100%. And that's, again, we were talking about that a couple of weeks ago about the little things that Apple users don't realize that are built into the ecosystem that other people just don't do. And so like there's a lot of controversy right now with like the EU trying to bust up Apple's hold on the smartphone market. And it's like, look, the things that people really like about, or the iMessage controversy, like why can't any other messaging service bust up Apple's hold on the messaging market here in the US? Like WhatsApp is huge around the world, but like here in the US, like almost everybody's on iMessage. Like what's going on with that? And it's like, well, whenever someone leaves, and a lot of people leave to go see like, hey, this Android phone looks pretty cool, and then they immediately come back because there's all kinds of things that Apple does. And people like to contextualize it as lock-in. And it's like, it's a competitive advantage. These other companies could do lock-in things, and then they either fall on their face when they try it, or they don't do it at all.
Well, that's what's funny about the whole lock-in excuse, right? Is like it's locked in because that's how they maintain a certain standard with the user experience. And like, exactly. Like if Google were to be like, you know what? We're going to take a cue from Apple and we're going to go ahead and lock in our own little Google universe, the Android universe or whatever. And you know that once they would do that, it still isn't going to improve the user experience and fix all the problems. So you can sit here and complain that like it's locked in on the Apple side, but it's like that for a reason. And the result of that is a lot of people own iPhones and it's easy to use. Yeah. And you can get more technical with it if you want or not.
Yeah, you sure can.
There's plenty of apps and things that you can do to really get a lot of functionality out of the iPhone without having to worry about the headache and the risk of your phone crashing on you, or like all of a sudden you go into the settings app and you get like 2 steps deep and now it looks like, Apple OS circa 2001 or something like that.
Yeah, right.
Android
like
always does that, and Windows and Android both. It's like once you go like 2 layers deep, we've talked about this a million times, the user
Gone out
experience.
of bounds.
Yeah, all of a sudden we're like Back to the Future, 1985 version of a freaking cell phone or whatever. So anyhow.
Yeah, I mean, it's and I think that the AirPods are one of the best examples of kind of like what some people refer to as lock-in. But I mean, with the AirPods Max, what's weird is that they haven't updated them. They're still using the H1 audio processing chip.
Yeah.
The H2 chip that's in AirPods Pro 2 has been out since 2022. They haven't updated them yet. But what I will say, the other thing about AirPods that's really, whether it's the Pro or these Max headphones, the transparency mode where you have them on, but it's letting in all of the kind of environmental sound so you can still hear what's going on around you is unmatched. There is nothing that comes close.
If I can,
it feels like you're not wearing them.
Yeah, that's the thing. So I have to wear a very specific type of earplugs when I go in noisy environments. Like especially, there's so many restaurants that don't think about the acoustic situation. And then, like my wife and I, there's a couple restaurants where we live here in Santa Cruz where the food's amazing, the service is amazing, but every time I go in there, I have a set of those like $50 Eargasm earplugs, and I have tinnitus pretty bad for like mid to like high mid-range frequencies, and so when you go into restaurant environments, there's a lot of people talking really loud, and the sound is bouncing around like 1,000 basketballs in a gymnasium, and you just can't hear. I'm like screaming in my wife's face, just trying to talk to her about the kids, or like, hey, how are you doing? I love you. And you're like, rah, and so I have to wear these earplugs, and what they do is they help filter out like the harsh frequencies that tend to be distracting, the stuff that triggers your like a tinnitus sort of, lack of a better word, like a flare up, we're like, because once one of those nerves gets pinged, that's when you get like a ringing, and all of a sudden all the other sound gets like filtered out and you can't hear very well until it goes away, which takes forever, right? So I have to wear those earplugs everywhere I go. So it looks like, from what I understand, for the AirPods Pro 2, you can actually get the same effect, but you also have AirPods from it as well. So that's pretty dope.
They have the AirPods Pro 2. They're not introducing AirPods Pro 3 or anything, but what they have done is they have 4, and it seems these things seem specific to AirPods Pro 2, right? Because they do have the seal, and I think that the seal is really important to kind of like to isolate some of that you're hearing for some of these features. But the first thing is hearing protection, which is exactly what you were referring to. During the keynote, they showed kind of like, a couple of teenage girls practicing in their garage, playing their instruments and everything. And we were just talking about the strength of transparency mode. So Apple has basically, they're pushing transparency mode further, saying, okay, we're going to let in the full dynamic range of your environment. But we're also going to, we're going to protect your hearing with that seal in AirPods Pro and active noise cancellation. Yeah. So the actual chip inside the AirPods Pro is going to let in full dynamic range, but then it's also going to cancel out frequencies that could damage your hearing. So it's like you said, you've got AirPods, and you've got like some really high grade, hearing protection. That you can wear in really loud environments, and it could be you're practicing, music. It could be you're at a live sport event or something else like that could be really loud. You can hear everything, and according to Apple, like I said, it's preserving the full dynamic range. So I think that's like the technical. Transparency mode is really good. That's the technical explanation. Is that their microphone array on both the Max and the Pro is so good at preserving. Usually when you're wearing headphones, it feels like you can hear the inside of your body while you talk, right? Like you can hear your voice. When you're wearing these, you can hear everything. It sounds natural. You forget you're wearing them.
That is amazing. Also, the fact that I can looks like I would have the opportunity to ditch the sort of like half-ass decibel meter test apps that are out there, like third-party apps are really not that good, you know?
Yeah.
But here, the fact that I can actually keep a read on that and control it and tailor my listening experience to my environment and whatever it's bringing to the table is really, really great for people like me who are trying to constantly protect our hearing and
yeah,
are sensitive or have tinnitus issues and stuff like that going on. I know my wife could definitely use some of this too, because both of us, just like when you get old and you have all of a sudden your situation in your bedroom, you have all these throw pillows because you have like your left knee needs to be like this and your right shoulder has to be like that and your lower back's got this going on, and all of a sudden you're like, why do I have 50 pillows on my bed? The same thing starts to happen with hearing when you get older and eyesight, where it's like, you know, I got 25 different versions of readers depending on, is it sunny outside? Am I near a window? No, it's too dark, so you need these glasses or whatever. And with hearing, it's the same situation. So I have to have like when I'm singing, I noticed that because my tinnitus is worse in one ear than the other, I was noticing this last night at band practice, I have to have one of the eargasm earplugs in one ear so I can hear certain frequencies. But in the other ear, I have to make sure that I, instead of having something that allows certain sound in, try to get one that blocks almost all the sound coming in so that I can hear my head voice more and hear my own notes against what's going on in the room while we're rehearsing. And so it's like totally weird custom situation I'm dealing with, but stuff like these AirPods here might actually make a lot of those things awesome.
Well, like the cool thing too, and it kind of addresses your situation as well, is like they're including a new hearing test. So the other big kind of stat that I thought was really interesting, we mentioned the sleep apnea stat that 80% goes undiagnosed, and then there's like another super high percentage of people who it's been more than 5 years since they've had a hearing test. That would include me. I think most people just don't. They might go get their eyes checked, they go to the doctor, but they probably don't get their hearing checked a lot. So on the new AirPods Pro 2, or on the AirPods Pro 2, they're and all of this stuff is coming via a software update this fall. So it's not there now. You'll have to update to the latest firmware on AirPods Pro 2. But there's going to be a new hearing test, so you can actually it's a clinical grade hearing test. So Apple is saying that it is on the up and up. It's clinically approved. It would be very similar to what you would get if you were to go get your hearing tested by a professional. You do the hearing test, but it's not just like, okay, here's your hearing test, here's how well you hear. Apple then builds like a profile, a hearing health profile for you that then changes the way that music and anything else you would listen to is presented. And that also includes, like, if you test for hard of hearing, it automatically turns on a hearing aid mode whenever you have transparency on. So you can actually use these as and again, this is clinically approved. So it's a clinical grade. The AirPods Pro 2 with the hearing test and this hearing aid mode is now a clinical grade hearing aid. So I know there's a lot of people who might be self-conscious about wearing hearing aids or just don't want to get them because they don't want to pay for them.
Yeah.
We were talking about how, they're pretty pricey, but that's a pretty cheap hearing aid. And something you can use to listen to music.
It's multifunctional and includes the health benefit to it at the same time. So that's
very cool. Very cool.
Pretty dope. All right, let's jump into the meatiest of the meatness of the Glow Fun Time USA event that happened yesterday. So the iPhone 16, iPhone 16 Plus. I mean, this event is their annual iPhone event, essentially, even though they do talk about other peripherals. So, new colors, stronger glass, some new buttons, a new A18 chip, better battery life. Like in a nutshell, I just basically said all that stuff. But
those are the big ones. Those are the big ones.
And thank goodness, because they have their own 16-core neural engine in the phone now with the new chip. So I just can't wait till everything I own in life has a neural engine in it. Like this right here, dude. The second I get this coffee cup set up with its own neural engine,
heck yes.
Yeah, the coffee is going to be amazing. The coffee will be able to detect activity in my taste buds. When I drink it, it's going to be incredible.
Absolutely. Anyway, you're going to want a neural engine in that. You're going to want a neural engine. Everybody, you need more neural engine. But that's one of the bigger, I think people with this event, they left a little confused because the betas of iOS 18.1, which is that's the beta version that has the Apple Intelligence AI features. It only works on the current iPhone 15 Pro Pro models. However, with the new phones, the Pro models and the non-Pro models, all of them are getting the AI features. It's just that when you update to iOS 18, the current generation 15s, only the Pro models will be able to get. So 15 and up, that's who's going to get the AI features. So,
good to know.
But if you're getting a new iPhone 16, it doesn't matter if you've got the Pro or the base model.
Base one.
They both have the A18 chip, which is literally, like you said, 16 core neural engine. It's built around AI processing. So the other big thing with the 16 Plus, I think anyway, like that ultramarine purple is just incredible. I want it. This Apple's really good at nailing colors, except on the Pro models. Like, I don't get why we can't have colorful Pro models.
I know, like, why do they dumb all that down? Like, all of a sudden, if you want a Pro model, you're just a bland person who doesn't.
Right. It's just like, that's not luxury. Like the Pro, they try to like lean the Pro into kind of like, oh, well, these are, very serious business people are going to be carrying these around. It's like, no, it's like none of the features are aimed at business people. It's like they're aimed at filmmakers and creatives and stuff like that. And we want purple ones.
Exactly.
We like the purple one. Don't hold it out.
Yeah. The better the camera and the more powerful the creative tool that it is, let's make it more bland to use.
You
visually.
get black, white, or sand, or desert titanium. Those are your options. The interesting thing this year, my biggest kind of takeaway with these two, is that there's lots of feature carryover between the two. There are some big differences. So we'll start with the 16 models.
Yep.
The 16, to start with a similarity, the 16 gets the action button that was Pro model only last year, so that's basically like a shortcut button that you can customize.
All right.
And then it also gets the new camera control button. So the camera control button has a couple of functions. The first of which is camera. So you can, from anywhere on the phone, you can hold it down. It'll open the camera up immediately. So it's a nice little shortcut button to get into the camera to start taking a photo or a video. But it's also got some really nifty little features because it's a dynamic button. So it's almost like a shutter button on a camera where you could half press it and then that focuses the camera. On the iPhone, once you're inside the camera app, if you light press or half depress that camera control button, you're going to get the option to then slide your finger along the button while you're holding it down to change like your zoom. And then if you want to change something else like aperture or depth of field or shutter speed or something like that, you can double tap and then you'll be able to swipe through the other camera. So it's basically like you can now, without touching the phone, you can change through all of these different camera adjustments and functions just by keeping your finger on the shutter button ready to take a picture.
Right.
And so the other thing that's coming is two-stage camera shutter. So just like on a camera where you would half press to lock in focus, you can then full press to take the picture. That's not apparently shipping right away. The thing where you can swipe through adjustments like zoom and aperture, that's coming, but then they're going to have to do a second update to bring the two-stage shutter, which is odd.
Okay.
I was surprised to see this on the base model.
Yeah.
But it's there and definitely very cool. I think that's probably the most exciting thing on these phones is this new camera button.
What about the tie-in to like third-party AI services like ChatGPT and all that?
Yes. So the other thing that the camera button is going to be able to do is it's going to be like a shortcut to open, and I'm not clear on. Maybe it's a single press to open the camera and a long press to open visual. This visual search feature. It's called Visual Intelligence, but it ties into Apple Intelligence, so it can just be like a Siri query, Or you can basically, when you open the camera, you take a picture of something to open the visual intelligence search. It's not in the camera app. So like, again, there's like a different way to open this up, but it does open a camera view. You take a picture, and then like Siri will give you some information on whatever it's looking at. But then you can also say, hey, send this to ChatGPT instead.
Oh,
so like
interesting.
You can use third-party apps with it, or you can just like, hey, here's a building. Siri, tell me about like the keynote showed standing in front of a restaurant, taking a picture of the restaurant. Here are the hours. Here's reviews. All that good stuff.
Interesting.
It's something that obviously Google visual search has had for years. It's cool to see it come to iPhone, and I think one of the other things they showed during the keynote was taking a picture of a problem in a math textbook, and then being able to send that to ChatGPT and have ChatGPT kind of help you with the solution.
Yeah.
So that's cool. Yeah, it's definitely, I think that in terms of daily use impact, that camera button, people use their cameras, that's 90% of their phone use, and so getting into it faster is cool. But then also like trying to get people more used to augmented reality of searching visually to get more information is very cool. And again, this is coming to both the base model and the Pro feature and the Pro model iPhones.
Yeah. So you and I were talking. Obviously, there's a lot of camera updates and stuff like that. The new 48 megapixel fusion camera, stuff like that. But we're gonna hit a point where the phone, for lack of a better term, I mean, the phones that Apple is making and the technology and the lean toward the camera stuff, there's going to be like a point where it gets to, shit or get off the pot with like a larger sensor.
Yeah.
It's like you can only get so far. It's like the phone knows that it needs to still be a phone and have apps and stuff like that have nothing to do with being a camera. But at the same time, the push and the pressure to like make the camera situation on the iPhone better and better and better with every round. It's almost like, and it's actually kind of been like this for the last few rounds of phones, is because of social media and content creators and all that other stuff, the camera ends up being like the number one reason why everybody's upgrading their phone ever.
Oh yeah. I mean, it is.
That's it.
That is the feature that pushes the majority of new features and development. And then if we talk about the Pro model iPhones, that's literally the only real differences. I mean, like, both of these phones have a new powerful processor. The processor in the Pro models is the A18 Pro, so it's faster. Yep. It's got better GPU and CPU performance. It's got like stuff like that you're seeing on the desktop side on the M series. It's got performance cores and then high efficiency cores. So it's got like more underlying power and performance than the non-Pro models. But the difference between the Pro and the non-Pro is the camera and then creative features, right? Yeah. And so that's the differentiator. That is what makes a more premium phone versus a base model phone, right? Look at the non-Pro models still have 2 camera lenses and only one 48 megapixel sensor. The big difference on the Pro models is that there's now 2 48 megapixel sensors. So one behind the ultra wide lens, which is awesome that we're getting better low light performance on the ultra wide. Yeah. And then you're also getting the 48 megapixel. I think the cool thing too, and then what the non-Pro users are always excited about getting are these camera features, right? Yeah. Like they're excited to get, even on the Pro tier, like Apple kind of gatekeeps the bestest features behind, the most expensive phones. So last year with the 15 Pro models, the non-Pro, the gosh, these freaking names, dude, always trip me up. The 15 Pro did not have the 5x zoom that the 15 Pro Max had. Yeah. And that was apparently like a space consideration. Well, they redid the internal to put more space, so they've put more battery into both the Pro and the non-Pro models. So now they're saying that the Pro Max has the best battery life of any iPhone ever. Well, I guess we'll see. But the other big thing is there's now a 48 megapixel sensor on the Pro models behind both the ultra wide. I was hoping for 48 megapixel on the 5x zoom because the 5x zoom is honestly, like, I love that purple color on the Pro, and it literally made me go, do I need a Pro? But I was like, 5x zoom I use it all the time, dude. It's a great portrait lens. It's awesome. Like, whenever I was at the football game this weekend, we were up in like the 300s, so not like just like the lower level of the upper level, and I'm able to hit that 5x zoom, and I can take really great pictures of the game that I'm really far away from. So that's really cool that the non-max model, the smaller Pro model, gets that. But again, like you said, everything else we're going to talk about that differentiates Pro from non-Pro is literally video capability, photo capability.
People aren't like, you know what? I'm going to spend $1,400 on a new phone so that my Chase banking app looks way more amazing.
Right. No, it's cameras. It's creative stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And so I would love to, one of the things that does pique my interest, because I use it a lot in my studio, being a solo, one-person show with content creation, is having a better ultra wide with low light. That would be a really, really big one for me, because, moody, vibey lighting and stuff, obviously, look at my background here, is like important to my space and kind of the content that I create. And I'm constantly getting kind of bitched at by my phone for being in a low light environment when using that ultra wide thing, even though it's okay. Still, it's a little bit problematic. It's a little bit grainy pretty easily,
Oh, dude, it's that's what keeps me from using it half the time. Is that and the 5X too. Like, I use the 5X even with the noise and the terrible low light performance, just because I can clean some of that up. But also, it's just such a great lens. I mean, it just looks fantastic, that focal length. But I want to see. I'm glad that they're doing better low light performance on the ultra wide. That's cool. And I think for a lot of I think you're exactly right. For a lot of creators and a lot of like people who shoot solely on their iPhone, that's going to be a huge feature. I also like, when are we going to get like a 20 or a 24 megapixel selfie cam? Because that's another one that's really important for people who are using their, I mean, if you think about like TikTok or Instagram creators, or hell, for a lot of the stuff that you do where you're using the selfie camera is trash. It is still trash. And like, it's better than it is on a lot of phones, but like, we need to get like, and I know that's tough because it's right behind the screen there, but like,
well, that's why I end up using the remote camera app on my watch, so that I don't have to lean on the crap camera on my phone, basically. So the other thing,
it's garbage.
I would actually love to see. And I don't, maybe you can control it I have the 15 Pro, but being able to use cinematic mode, but a little bit wider of a shot, and also being able to control the depth of field, the stop on the cinematic mode, because sometimes it's so harsh that it looks weird, like. It almost looks not quite as bad, but it can sometimes look like some like shitty zoom background.
Yeah,
right? So it's
because it requires it'll tell you like when you're using cinematic mode that it needs more light.
Yeah, I know. It drives me
in
crazy.
Full light though.
It's incredible.
I challenged. So I started using, whenever I was shooting trade shows and stuff like that, I switched to an all iPhone loadout.
Yeah, dude.
The last few that I did, I was all iPhone. I stopped carrying a camera because of cinematic mode.
Yes.
Because I could look at cinematic mode, and again, I was outside and I'm shooting like
well lit,
heavy machinery and stuff like that, or interviews, or myself, or whatever. I'm holding up like a gimbal, and I like with those DJI mics or the Go mics or whatever, and an iPhone. I've got like this on a selfie stick, like a great looking little loadout, and it's on the internet. Like nobody can tell that that cinematic mode is what I was using. Cinematic mode is great.
It is dope, and I actually followed my wife when cinematic mode first came out. The previous version of the phone, I think the 14 is what I had, or whatever. And we were walking through a big field of wild mustard flowers on the coast, and it was pretty rough to walk in, especially if you were trying to concentrate on your shot while I was following her from behind. And but dude, the stabilization built into that, coupled with like the quality, just from my phone. It's ridiculous. And so I ended up buying what was the most expensive DJI gimbal at the time for phones.
Mm-hmm.
I still use that plus my iPhone 15 Pro. Like once you get a good handle on the mechanics of using the gimbal and stuff, it's incredible, dude. It covers all the bases. And then I have the mobile Go wireless setup from Rode, and dude, all day long I'm getting high quality interviews, high quality footage. Everything's easily editable into something that looks really slick, and I'm not dragging around my camera bag and all these frickin'
there's no need
gear, lenses. It's just a big pain in the butt, and because at the end of the day, people are just chopping this footage up to be used in little like social media sound bites, you know. So I don't need a frickin' like overkill camera crew with gaffers and crap just to shoot this, you know.
I mean, you can dress it up as much as you like. I mean, and like during the keynote, they showed the 16 Pro being used to shoot like the Weeknd's new music video, and it looks dope. I mean, it looks fantastic, but it's kind of like you don't need all of that. I think this is what I'm super interested to see. I'm hoping they didn't mention cinematic mode at all during the event, but what they did mention was that the Pro models now have in addition to that new sensor behind the main camera, the fusion camera sensor. And so kind of like that is all about, you know, tying pixels together essentially. It's a quad pixel sensor. It's more powerful, more efficient. It says it can read data twice as fast. There's zero shutter lag now on raw capture, which is extremely dope for photographers. But the big new feature on the Pro models is 4K 120 FPS, which Apple's it includes Dolby Vision HDR, which I care a little bit less about, but 4K 120 on a phone, dude, that already shoots good video. This bonkers. Was already a beast of a social media and marketing loadout, like we were just talking about, and it's already a beast of a B camera loadout because you can take some truly. If you throw it on a gimbal, or even if you don't have your gimbal, the stabilization is so good for fantastic B-roll. Now you're adding in 4K 120.
Dude, on my GH5, I can only get 4K at 60.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you'll go through 3 batteries.
Yeah, 3 batteries.
Or it'll overheat.
Yeah, exactly.
Or it'll overheat. 4K 120. It's definitely. I think a lot of people watching the event yesterday were like, I don't even know what this means. But for anyone who shoots with an iPhone, or who doesn't even shoot with an iPhone, they shoot with like a regular camera, or like maybe a small Sony mirrorless, like the A series or something like that. 4K 120 on the phone could be amazing. A game changer for a lot of people. Oh yeah,
dude, big time. And all the impactful slow-mo moments, like you're gonna start enabling kind of the phone camera power users to take their shots and ideas to a whole nother level with that capability too. Because now, if you have 120 and 4K and you can punch in and change up your shots and edit without losing a lot of quality and all that, that is super dope, dude. Yeah.
Well, the other thing too that I thought was really impressive is like they're saying that, and I don't know exactly how this works, but they showed a video of it. You apparently don't have to put it into 4K 120 mode, because like on previous models, you had to tell the phone, shoot at 4K 60, shoot at 4K 24, shoot at 4K 30, and then that's what you were going to get on the output. I haven't used the phone or like messed around with it, but apparently you're going to be able to choose between 120, 60, 30, and 24 in playback. So you don't even have to say, like, if you shoot the video, you can decide after the fact, I want this to play at full 120 FPS, or I want it to play at 60, or I want it to play at 24 for slow-mo. To give you kind of like that really, that is dope. And then they're also introducing color grading on the phone, so that you can kind of like mix and match kind of like, you know, looks and stuff like that. Color grading with HDR color grading. So the iPhone Pro, I think, lives up to its name now more than ever with that 4K 120. But again, it's all limited to the camera. But for people who are mobile creatives and who are on the go, or even, you know, people who are just like, I need a good B camera option and I don't want to have to lug around another camera.
I've seen lots of little like indie film sets where they have like a nice rig set up, you know, where they got a couple pairs of sticks set up, and they're throwing the latest iPhone on there and then lighting everything properly and all that stuff, of course. But dude, they end up with these great shots, So
the other thing that I'm interested to see too on the 16 Pros is they didn't just give love to the video folks. There's also some new like still photography features.
Okay.
And so like the first one is they've had this for a couple of generations now, but it's called photographic styles, where you could, like, the one that I use is like, I think it's called dramatic warm, where it's basically it allows you to up contrast or decrease contrast or up the tone or down the tone. So you can
Exposure,
get a warm,
you can tweak with.
Yeah, exactly. You can mix and match warm or cool tone with contrasty or non-contrasty photos. Yep. And so it's like, you can mix and match those a bunch of different ways. There was different names for them, like dramatic cool or warm dramatic or
vivid.
Yeah, so it was limited,
there,
but it was limited. And so like they have upgraded the photographic styles. They've got like almost like a Da Vinci like tone touchpad where you can like really dial in kind of like this mix using just kind of like a touchpad. And they've it looks like what they've done is built-in Lightroom profiles. So you can really get in there and adjust color, highlights, shadows, contrast, tone to really create. It's not a filter, essentially. It's not like a color-based filter. This is like an actual like photography profile that you can pull up in real time. Like as you're looking at the photo, as you're shooting it, you can like swipe through these different Lightroom, essentially, but they're not Lightroom profiles. But that's kind of what I'm saying so that people will understand. Yeah, it's a deep adjustment profile that pulls up in real time and lets you kind of pick through these photographic styles. They introduced, we really highly recommend here at OWC like the little the Envoy Pro Electron for tethering. Obviously, like the video that you're shooting can be recorded on iPhone now. Because of USB-C, can be recorded directly to one of these bad boys. You can now tether to your computer and shoot a photography session. So like they're definitely advancing more and more. This event as a whole was kind of looked upon as kind of maybe disappointing or controversial or like I don't get it or whatever else. But like for people who use the Pro phones for content creation, there were 2 or 3 like, whoa, that's going to be cool to play with.
Yeah, it was speaking. It was speaking to the niche in this event. Definitely, it was not. This was not a broad stroke general consumer phone audience play at all, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Well,
sure do.
We've beat the glowing event of glowness.
We have covered the glow. The glow is covered. I thought I'm upgrading. They sold me. I know that a lot of people have kind of, have we reached peak phone? Have we, is everybody kind of finally sick of it? I mean, I think it's like the struggle of the form factor has been established for a while now. People are super dependent on these phones. I think that Apple is kind of painted into a corner because you can't make giant changes to these phones that are going to be disruptive for people who depend on them. Yeah. But you also have to please the investors in the market by showing off the AI features and stuff that honestly, like, most people don't really want and probably won't use. I think Apple's playing it smart and just trying to get through this moment with the market. I was super encouraged by the watch features and the Pro iPhones. I mean, like, from a content creator perspective, I think that those are some really, really nice looking features.
I'm most interested in the AirPods, the Pro 2, for all the hearing stuff. That is could be a serious game changer for me. And then the phone stuff, we're not really in a race to see what the next greatest phone is. Let's be honest. We're now just waiting to see what the next greatest phone camera is. Like any phone I buy in the future is based on the camera. Everything else is like generic table stakes, homogenized mobile app experience stuff. Like the camera is all that matters to me now. So I'm
just wait for the reviews to come out. Like I think if you're on the fence, because this is what happens a lot of times, is that the reviews will come out and then like some more reviews will come out and you'll be like, oh wow, they really undersold the camera leap on this generation. That happens a lot because Apple we'll have an iPhone event that lasts 2 hours like the other day. And I really think that it could have been an hour. I think a lot of the reason that a lot of people walked away like, what? Was they had to pack too much in. And I think some of these could have been like AirPods Max were a press release, but like the black Apple Watch Ultra gets like 10 minutes of screen time. I think that wait for the reviews. I would not be surprised based on the new sensor in these cameras if you saw some pretty meaningful improvements.
Yeah, I mean, I could honestly, usually I always trade in my phone to get the next one, just to save a little bit of money. But I think in this case, I have the iPhone 15 Pro right now.
Yeah.
If I were to get the 16, I would actually keep my 15 as another camera.
Okay.
Because there have been quite a few situations where I wished I had another camera set up, but I really, really did not want to go through the hassle of setting up my GH5 and my iPhone and then trying to control the environment. I'm just one person, right? So that's like a very laborious, like frustrating situation. So I might actually, I wish there was a way to buy, like if Apple just made the camera, you know what I mean? And put it in an enclosure that was shaped like an iPhone and then just had the camera app and functionality on it, and that's all. Yeah. I would buy that. I would buy 3 of those things.
I think a lot of people would buy that.
Yeah,
I think a lot of people would.
Like that's a new idea that I would like for you to call them and tell them to facilitate. So if you could just jump right on that, that'd be great.
I'll get on that. I mean, I think that for a lot of creators, having 1 or 2 iPhones, and now kind of like I think it's Blackmagic camera. Well, no, so like the new Final Cut camera app. And I think that's come out. I can't remember because like there was going to be like a new. So they created a Final Cut. Yes, I think it is out. Final Cut camera is going to tie into the new Final Cut stuff, and you're going to be able to do like multi-camera production with multiple iPhones. So that's a thing that's happening. I think Blackmagic camera supports something similar to that, but like with log shooting, multicam kind of like wireless tethered to where everything kind of works together as like a small little studio thing. I mean, for $1,000, I know that that's a really expensive to a lot of people still for a phone, but for people who are using these for like professional use cases, having 2 or 3 iPhones just for the camera is not crazy.
No, and there have been times when I've been in situations where even though the quality wasn't matching and stuff, because my wife has a much older phone than I do, but like I'll be like, hey, let's just set up both of our phones right now and hit record at the same time, so we got some options of the kids doing something or whatever, but like for higher end stuff, I would use the crap out of that, to be honest. Especially if I had an app just like the GoPro apps where you can look at all the different cameras and like set them all up independently and stuff just from a mobile app. That would be super dope.
It's cool. So like I think that every year what you see with the Apple event, right, is that you see Apple trying to make new features and enhancements and stuff for what we were just talking about, like trying to hit that moving target, and keeping the general consumer who doesn't understand or know anything about any of what we were just talking about happy.
Right. Yep.
That's tough. It's a tough thing to straddle. And now the market who's obsessed with AI.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah. Well, let's move on to the I think we've done the whole Apple event thing, beat that horse into the ground ad nauseum. So I'm sure we'll be seeing lots of reviews of the products coming out, more feedback and that kind of thing. I'm definitely curious to see kind of how the public responds once they start getting some of these new devices. Now we'll move on to some of the kind of wrapping up the show here with a couple little quirky news bites. This is a really funny startup situation that popped into my feed where they basically there's a startup that's using a huge space mirror to sell sunlight to people during the nighttime, in their part of the planet. So, it says the jury's still out on most of the particulars. Like, I don't know what. Can you imagine? How are you going to pull that off and not piss off all your neighbors? You know what I mean? Like I'm having a house party. These are my GPS coordinates. So if you could shine, I would like to pay $452.33 to get an hour and a half of interstellar space mirror light projected into my backyard so I could have a barbecue at midnight. Like, what are the use cases for this? Maybe I could see it being used by law enforcement or the military, but for that to actually for you to be able to just have a mobile app called, Spotlight or something like that, and you just go in there just like a parking meter app, and you just say, look at my location, verify your home address, and then all of a sudden you could just go blam. I guess if you were going to go set up a campsite somewhere and you couldn't see because you got there late at night, maybe that would be a use case. Does it actually work?
Is this real? Like it says in the demo.
Yeah.
So do they really have this working?
Yeah, it shows an app outside in the dark, and it seems to control the location of the company's sunlight reflecting mirrors. As he selects the spot where he stands, the area around him is suddenly illuminated as if by stadium lights.
There's no way this is real.
Let's see.
Obviously, but
it looks like there's a video here. Let's see what happens. I'm going to kill the audio. So it looks like he's on a mobile app. I don't know what's going on there. Looks like, he's like going over a map.
Oh, and then there's light around him all of a sudden.
Now there's all of a sudden light. Dude, that is ominous, wackadoo.
There's no
alien.
way it's real. That's not real. That's not real. There's something up there. There's like a helicopter or something shining a spotlight. Because it's not. I don't think it would be bright enough to actually sell.
No.
But right, it is. It's ominous. It's kind of like, and also you're going to be able to see that. Like
that's like Truman Show type.
Everyone
crap right
around
there.
you could see it.
Yeah, exactly. And then, dude, what if you literally have millions of people in one state somewhere, like in California? Like, what if 1 million people decide to order some nighttime light for the whole sky? There's just no way that's...
No, I'm going to go ahead and say this is not real. This is vaporware.
The military would never allow anything
the military,
like that to happen.
Local and state governments would not allow this. This is just kind of like, if you're dumb enough, they're like, you know what I bet we could sell people on? Like, there are many ways to part fools with their money, and I think that this is definitely one of the more brazen attempts, but there's just no way that it's real. It'll never happen.
Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah. I agree. If you run all those scenarios out and then you think about how insane people are on the internet right now with everything that's going on, that would be...
respect the hustle. I mean, because this is a terrible and stupid idea, but man.
Totally. I keep thinking of all the funny scenarios and I should start an entire comedic video series based on the ridiculous use cases these guys thought this would serve. Anyway,
yeah.
Moving on. I've been really obsessed with the website The Byte lately, or the column The Byte on futurism.com. It has a lot of great stories.
Okay.
This is I wouldn't say this is a great story. I would say it's another story that ventures into the scary AI stuff. So ChatGPT kind of there's a feature inside there related to mimicking. It's called advanced voice mode, which allows users to speak with ChatGPT, but ChatGPT unexpectedly imitated the users' voices without their permission while they were talking to it. So voice generation, it says that voice generation can also occur in non-adversarial situations, such as our use of that ability to generate voices for their advanced voice mode. During testing, they observed rare instances where the model would unintentionally generate an output emulating the user's voice. So if it took me just the push of a button to say, you know what, I'm going to pull up this person I'm connected to because we're in part of a little ChatGPT community and we're friends and he's in my contact list. If you could just, I'm going to make it so that Wayne Grayson says this.
Right.
And then I just feed some text into it, and all of a sudden I have sound bites of you saying things with intention or voice inflection and stuff like that.
Sweet.
That goes way beyond just some AI music or whatever, replicating some songs. But this is this is another element or angle on deep fake stuff, right?
Yeah,
so,
I mean, it's just another example. It's all of these companies right now.
Yeah,
I think we talked about this last week, and I'm pretty sure the quote is "move fast and break stuff."
Yeah,
they're all moving fast and breaking everything. They're breaking as much as they can get their hands on to just kind of like release these new features. And it's like, I'm sure that little instance there of like, whoa, just like copy my voice is probably covered by their terms of service, to where it's like, hey, but it's just like, I think you should want to move a little bit more carefully when it comes to this stuff, because every headline that is made is always negative and it's always creepy. So like you're creeping people out.
Yeah. And
how is that good for your business?
Most people like that aren't tech savvy or just aren't interested in tech, and you know, there's the majority of app and internet users are not people that are researchers. They do not go look for the backstory. They don't like really see where the truth is. You know, the truth is just a word these days. Like, it's so obscured with everything, unfortunately. And it's like people like my dad, you know, when like the whole Y2K thing was happening, we may have even talked about this. He didn't know, man. He just thought it was going to be a real thing, and he was in the Marines, right? So he was like buying like huge barrels of water and chlorine and like all this stuff to prepare for the massive apocalyptic dystopian power outage that was going to happen when we clicked over to the year 2000. You know, and he sat there and just stared at the news and all the hype. And then I told him, I'm like, Dad, I'm in tech. Molecules in the air are not just going to spontaneously combust because we have moved over to the year 2000. But he didn't really believe me. He wanted to, but he didn't. And then the next day when nothing happened, he was furious. And he wasted like thousands of dollars on survival crap. You know, and it's like, we're now at like the whole new level version of that kind of hype, right? And
well, at least he snapped out of it, because like what you have now today with the internet is that you don't have to snap out of it if you don't want to.
Yeah, you can just live in that weirdness, you know, and tout it as truth.
It's because it's just the echo chamber of kind of like, you'll be on there going, see, like your thought process is now being filtered through a hive mind. And so it's kind of like, if you were isolated from it, you could just be like, oh, it didn't happen, and then move on. But with the internet, you're like on there when it's about to happen.
Yeah.
So then when it doesn't happen, now your perception of it is now completely altered by the hive mind's perception of it.
Yeah. And unfortunately, cognitive dissonance reduction has been weaponized to really throw us all for a loop all the time with our emotions and what's real and what isn't. So that's a whole nother podcast, really. Anyhow, I think that's probably good for today. There's other little things we can cover, but I think this is the longest episode we've recorded. We're at an hour and 17 minutes, and we did it. Yay! So
let's just keep pushing, man. Well, like next week we'll do the new longest episode ever. We'll go for an hour and 18 minutes.
Pretty soon we're gonna go for we'll shoot for a Guinness World Record of podcast length, just nonstop talking.
100%.
I'm sure we'd be capable of pulling that off, to be perfectly honest with you.
Heck yeah, dude.
All right, well, thanks everybody for joining us today. We hope you got some new tidbits from Apple announcements, and heard about other ridiculous things, and were able to stomach some of my really poorly delivered humor and jokes without throwing up on your phone while listening to it. Right. But thanks again for joining us, and feel free to comment, ask questions. We'll always respond to everything. We are Quasar With Fries is on Instagram, at Quasar With Fries, as well as TikTok, and we're here on YouTube as well. And until then,
give us a follow, guys.
Give us a follow. Hit the subscribe button. We love you. Not that much, but mostly. Okay.
Oh, right.
Talk to you later. See ya.
Later, guys.